Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Erik Johansson, a teacher with LSAT Demon. Joining me is Nathan Fox, the co-founder of LSATdemon.com and the weekly podcast Thinking LSAT. Today we've got an email from Camila.
Camila says, "Hi, Erik and Nathan. I've been studying with the LSAT Demon for over a month now, and I'm trapped in the 150 score range. Despite heeding to the Demon's advice of prioritizing accuracy over speed, my score has yet to improve. If anything, now I hardly ever complete an RC or LR section."
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
We found it, right?
Right off the bat. It's
in the same sentence, we went from
yeah.
I'm heeding the advice to prioritize accuracy over speed, ... I hardly ever complete an RC or LR section. If you're worried about completing the section, then you're worried about the speed.
Well, and I would go a step further. You literally should never finish any section. At your level of scoring, you have no business finishing sections. If you're only scoring in the 150s, not that there's anything wrong with the 150s, but if you're scoring in the 150s, the easiest way to do that is to not finish the sections. I mean, if you want to get into the 160s, you still should not be finishing any of the sections.
Mm-hmm.
In the 170s, maybe you should be finishing some of the sections, but probably not all of them. I don't think anybody should be routinely finishing every section unless you're already scoring 175 or higher. Yeah. And you're nowhere near that in the 150s. You can get there from here.
Yeah.
But the way you get there is not by first finishing the sections and then figuring out how to be accurate. You're slow because you're inaccurate. Should I go on and read a little more of this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because Camila goes on and says, and the questions I do get to, well, I'm stuck in the 60th percentile for accuracy on those questions. I don't quite know what to do. Tough love?
Yeah, you got to slow down. You got to accept that you are not, like Nathan said, you're not someone who's going to be finishing sections.
60% accuracy sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not good. It's not partially good. It's bad. It's very bad. You're not solving the questions. If you're only getting 60% of them right, that's like you've got this big mountain of work that you've completed and you're only going to get paid for 60% of it. 40% of the work that you're doing is garbage. So that's as if you didn't even do that work, although you did waste a bunch of time on it. You did those questions, you spent time on those questions, and you got none of them right. That whole 40% that you got wrong, you got none of those right. So you did a bunch of garbage work. That garbage work is what's weighing you down. Students always get so worried about, well, I got to make sure that I attempt every single question. No, you do not. You need to get paid for the work that you're doing. And until you really take that on board, you're just always going to struggle. You can't serve both masters at once. You can't go for speed and accuracy at the same time. You have to go for accuracy and then let the speed develop over time.
Yeah. Why don't we continue reading? Because
okay.
Camila mentions a plateau, and I have a new theory about plateaus that I want to run by you.
Oh, great. Can't wait to hear this. Okay, so Camila says, when I drill for either LR or RC, I can confidently answer questions with ease and even have a consistent accuracy with higher difficulty questions. However, in the timed sections and exams, that accuracy flies out the window. Well, yeah, I mean, and it's obvious what you're doing wrong there, which is you're trying to finish the sections on time. If you try to finish the sections on time, then yeah, your accuracy flies out the window.
Yeah.
You have to stop trying to finish. The key there is that when you start your timed section, you need to turn off the clock. Click the clock, turn off the clock, just ignore it. Go back to the same pace that you use when you're successfully drilling. That's the same pace that you should use when you're being timed.
Yeah. And I will say also, you want to shift your focus away from the outcome of your time section.
Right.
Because I think that's probably a driving factor here, is you're thinking about your time sections as the score that you get at the end, and that is the big thing that happens with a time section, is you get that score, that sort of feedback.
Yep.
That's not it. It's practicing exactly this thing that we're talking about, which is don't worry about finishing the section, trusting that the accuracy, even over 10 questions, if that's all you do, then that's all you should do. If that's what it takes to do it accurately. So shifting that perspective. Yeah.
The purpose of timed sections is to learn to ignore the clock. You have to train yourself that the clock just doesn't matter to you. The clock will take care of itself. It's keeping faithful time, I promise. You don't need to look at it. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to manage it. Just ignore it, turn it off, and go back to the same pace that you use on your drilling. Because on your drilling, you can get even the hard ones right, you say. And I believe you. You've just got to bring that same kind of focus to each question when you're doing your timed sections. And you won't finish, but you will score higher. You'll do less work at a higher rate of accuracy. You'll get paid more for doing less work because you'll actually get paid for the work you're doing. You don't get to bill for shitty work. Okay. Basically, says Camila, even though I've tried to listen to and trust the demon's advice of speed coming from accuracy, I seem to be at a plateau. Please help. Should I focus on timed sections rather than drilling? Is there something I'm missing? My score has yet to improve compared to where I was when I first started studying, which was only a month ago. So I am in need of sage advice! ! I appreciate all your help thus far. Best, Camila. All right, so what's your theory about plateaus?
So Camila's only been at it for a month and trapped in the 150s. Don't know whether this 150s score range is an improvement from where you started. I'm guessing it probably is. You probably made some early improvements and then reached the 150s, and now you've been hanging around in there. And we've said for a long time that plateaus aren't really something to get too caught up about, because you're scoring in a range anyways, and what you perceive as a plateau in most cases is probably just a small sample size. Random occurrence of similar scores within a much broader range, and you might be actually, and you probably are, still getting better at the LSAT, even if it doesn't look over a short period of time like your scores indicate any improvement. So that's the first thing, is don't read too much into it. You are still getting better. If you're practicing and preparing the right way, you are still getting better. What I've been thinking about plateaus, and maybe this is nothing new, but I was talking about this in class recently, how we always have to keep coming back to this idea that we don't worry about finishing the section. And that's a lesson that we have to repeatedly relearn. And I can picture someone like Camila, who, maybe let's take Camila at her word. And when you first started out, you were fully invested in accuracy over speed, and you didn't try to finish the sections, and you saw some improvement from that. And you started hitting the 150s, some higher scores. And suddenly, oh, I'm scoring better. I am closer now to the goal of finishing a section. And it's like when you start to have a little bit of that success, and you see that light at the end of the tunnel, it's like what you learn. It's like this temptation to say, oh, maybe now I can try to start finishing. And I think this just gets where it's like, ironically, this lesson of don't finish the sections might be even more important for the person who's scoring 20 questions perfectly, because they're getting so close to the end that it's like the temptation to try to rush at the end is even greater. So maybe that's partly where plateaus might come from, is you start to have a little bit of success and it screws with your mind a little bit in these time sections. And suddenly you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe now I can start to push it a little bit. And that's going to set you back.
Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. I mean, and it is a lesson that Camila will probably have to relearn once she gets into the 160s. She'll be at 165 and she'll be very tempted to think, oh, okay, well, I'm doing 20 questions with 95% accuracy and I'm scoring in the 160s. I'm never going to get to the 170s if I don't finish the section. So I got to, instead of doing 20 questions, I got to do 25 questions. And it's like, no, what you really need to do is do 20 questions with 100% accuracy, or maybe do 21 questions with 95% accuracy. But you certainly are not yet in the realm of needing to do all 25. And I am reminded of our man Carl, who still, tutors with the Demon every once in a while, who scored 179 on his official LSAT and knows for sure that he did not finish his reading comprehension section. It's like, no, I didn't have time to do it accurately, so I didn't do it. But I got all the ones I attempted right, and end up with some very nice scores, even though you didn't attempt every single question. So if you're not,
he ended up going to a pretty good law school, right?
Right, and he went to Yale, and without finishing his LSAT, he went to Yale. So there's nothing you can't achieve by not completing the sections. There's little you can achieve by completing the sections until you're a truly elite LSAT candidate, and at 150s is a perfectly fine score. The average score of people who sit for the real test is like 152, 153, something like that.
Yeah.
So Camila sounds like basically started in a pretty good spot, and it should be fairly straightforward for her to get into the 160s and probably even into the 170s, but not until she buys the idea that we really do want 95% accuracy. And 60% is not good. It's not at all good. It's very bad. You're essentially randomly guessing on every question, It's like you're narrowing every question down to a 50-50, and oh yeah, I think it's probably that one. And yeah, well, you're right 60% of the time. That's not good. You're not seeing how easy the test can be. So she's got to really buy that. The first primary, the fundamental lesson. She hasn't yet taken that one on board.
Yep.
Good luck, Camila. Thanks for writing in. Email daily@lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.